Well, good evening. Welcome again to the 2012fad.com. I will be your host for this evening. My name's Charlie Bluehawk. Last night, we talked about are we the Matrix and the possible fact that you and I are actually inside right now, living inside of a machine. A living machine that we are all part of, that we help power, and that our living minds back in the real world are actually part of the processor that makes this artificial world real. And how all of us are actually in college somewhere. We're 19 years old on average. And instead of studying in classrooms and reading books and talking to teachers, we're actually learning by living entire lifetimes in a single day. Can you imagine living a dozen lifetimes and still only being 19 years old? What you would know, the languages you would learn, the cultures you would absorb. I mean, that is truly a stunning concept if you really think about it. Obviously, something's gone wrong with the program, but we'll get into that some other time. Tonight, I thought we would chat about psychic super soldiers and empty cities. What on earth do those two things have in common? Well, let's see if we can put some pieces together. Psychic super soldiers are clones. They're artificial people, copies of people who may or may not have actually been real. They might be a compilation of any number of different people mixing and matching genes to come up with the right outcome, which of course is being psychic, being very strong, being resilient, being fairly intelligent. And then you take all these genes, you mix them in a beaker, and then you inject them into the wombs of women, which allows you then, as a clone, a baby, to be born into families that will guaranteed to be abused, raped, tortured. And childhood rape and torture is all part of basic CIA 101 trauma-based sex torture mind control projects such as MKUltra, Project Monarch, and Project Super Soldier. They have since advanced the Super Soldier project to a point where they can actually force grow a clone in 24 hours. Now, this is a clone whose DNA and RNA are so tailored that the DNA provides the building blocks, the structure, the blueprint for the body, whereas the RNA is actually real memory of whomever it is they cloned. And they can actually grow these super soldier clones in 24 hours. Whenever you hear of Delta Force or a Delta Commando, a Delta basically is a programmed killing machine, a meat robot. Try not to make them mad. I doubt they have much of a sense of humor. Anyway, as with all things CIA, there's always black magic involved. Part of the old black magic ritual that created clones, such as myself and others, there's a black magic ritual that goes with the implantation process where they take the clone cells to inject them into a woman who's already pregnant. Part of the black magic ritual is to butcher the fetus that's already in the womb, and then inject the new cells into the butchered fetus. It's quite horrifying, and I actually wrote about this in my books and other CIA black magic practices, standard procedures. It's a series of erotica horror novels called Coffee and Blood, Love Letters Between the Dead. This is obviously the plug for the day. Now you can buy Coffee and Blood, Love Letters Between the Dead on Amazon.com or go to our website, coffeeandblood.com. It's exactly how it sounds, coffeeandblood.com, one word. And you can read about, hopefully in a fictionalized sense, how the CIA has created psychic super soldiers and sex slaves, and some of the horrifying things they do to small children sometimes who aren't even born yet. And of course, money from the sales of the books of Coffee and Blood goes towards building the village. Anyway, sexual abuse, the rape, the torture of children, as I said, is standard CIA practice. Whether they're creating psychic super soldiers as slaves or sex slaves, to create a proper slave, a mind control slave, you actually have to destroy the mind, fragment the personalities, compartmentalize the psyches, as it were, and have them working against each other. And this is done through pain, torture, sexual abuse, rape, and horror. And it's all installed in the victims sometimes before they're even born. And like all good programmed slaves, they are set to self-destruct, to kill themselves at the age of 30. My trigger didn't go until 31, and all it did to me was make me violently ill. And I spent the next 18 months every morning crawling into the bathroom on my hands and knees, sticking my head in the toilet and dry heaving, and then getting dressed and going to work. I think I worked at Disney Studios at the time. And worked at the Disney Studios, came home that evening, had dinner, watched TV, hoping to God my brain would just shut down. And then I go to bed and have the most horrifying dreams. And then wake up in the morning, remember what was done to me as a small child, and again, crawling on my hands and knees to the bathroom, stick my head in the toilet, and dry heaved. Did that for about 18 months. Realized I was really, I really needed help. But we'll talk about that in another episode. So the CIA creates clones. The CIA then tortures these clones to make them soldiers or sex slaves. Well, soldiers, psychic soldiers in this case. And sadly, the CIA just is not very good at this. And so I, like all the other clones that I've encountered, created in the batch that I was from, we're all, disabled failures. None of us want to hurt anybody. Instead of listening to their commands from the CIA, we can actually hear the universe breathing around us. And we figured, well, doing violence is a bad thing. You really shouldn't do that. Makes the CIA really put out. But why psychic super soldiers? Why not just trained killing machines like they use the deltas for? Deltas are meat robots. They are trained killing machines. Not even trained, they're programmed killing machines. So why psychic super soldiers? Now, some people believe that the CIA, the NSA, the DoD, all those spaghetti agencies have captured flying alien saucers, and the only people that can fly these flying saucers are psychics. Okay, I can buy that. I've watched enough sci-fi in my life. But why would a pilot for a flying saucer have to be a program killer as well, a soldier? Well, if we go back and remember what we have chatted about in previous episodes, that the great work of our masters includes calling back their god, Satan, to rule the earth, and that part of the black magic ritual, in order to call Satan back to earth, is to sacrifice all life on the face of the earth by burning the earth with their harp stations. And of course, these harp stations are now all over the world. Again, remember what just happened in Australia. And as I always say, you don't have to believe in Satan. You don't have to believe in God. Our masters believe in Satan. And let's face it, it's working for them. They have all the power, they have all the money, and they have us so stupid, so beaten, and so useless that they can do anything they want to us. So obviously the masters must be onto something. They must know something we don't. So anyway, our masters will use all these HARP stations, High Atmospheric Auroral Research Project, which of course it's not. They're going to use these HARP stations to burn the surface of the earth and all of us with it. And using fire to kill people is a particular favorite in black magic ritual. If you really want to learn about black magic rituals, the best place to start is go visit, as I always say, rense.com, RENSE.com, and look up all the interviews that Jeff Rense has with a gentleman by the name of Tim Rifat, R-I-F-A-T. Mr. Rifat's an English gentleman. He is an expert